Good evening and welcome through to my read-through of the Complete Griselda by Oliver Dickinson. This is the fourth part, and tonight's story will be a tasty morsel. Let me just change my glasses to my reading glasses. So, what's interesting about this tasty morsel? It's actually the fourth story in the Complete Griselda. But checking the brief bibliography, it's actually the third story, appearing in White Dwarf 41 in 1983. Really, together with the first two stories, which are Lucky Eddie and Griselda Gets Her Men, this is the capping part of the first trilogy. So, here we go. A Tasty Morsel, dedicated with great respect to the authors of Troll Pack. Personally, I always consider it smart to take a good look around you, or be facing the door when you are speaking with someone else, in case that someone else may appear unexpectedly and take exception to what you're saying. Which is what this blowhard who is holding forth on trolls in loud Lalinas neglects to do. For he's leaning back on a chair so that his top knot hangs over the edge, and he is by no means looking at the door, but at us, to see how impressed we are. For to hear him tell it, he knows more about trolls, or us as he calls them, than they do. He's a big guy, and he's clearly very proud of his top knot, which he's always running a hand over, and I judge he may be from the llama riders originally, since they favour long top knots. Anyway, he's speaking of real high shots among the trolls that he knows of, and he mentions Peacat Yerabum. Someone else says that Griselda knows him. He asks who is this Griselda, and when we describe her, he laughs very loud. "A redhead," he cries. "Why, the only use Peacat Yerabum has for such is to eat them, and it's my guess that this Griselda does not know him any more than she knows Zarak Zaran." Well, it's most unfortunate for the guy that Griselda is entering just then. She certainly moves fast, and before anyone can draw a breath, there is a whoosh and a snick, and she has a sword in one hand and his top knot in the other. She tosses it on the table in front of him and says, "Mind your manners." The guy goes all red and starts grabbing for his own sword, yelling, "But it's true, he does eat them!" "That much is true," says Griselda, ducking under his swing and putting her sword point to his throat. "And that is why I do not kill you." And she grins at him. There is no pleasantness in the grin, and the guy gives a kind of shudder and drops back in his chair with all the fight gone out of him. He just says, sounding puzzled, "Though how come he does not eat you?" Griselda contemplates him for a moment. She breathes her sword and says, "Buy me a drink, and I will tell you." Well, this guy's at the counter spilling clacks all over the place as he pays for the drink, and someone else politely offers Griselda his seat, and we all gather round, for this promised to be such a story as seldom heard in Lalinas. Even Lena's there bending an ear, for this is a slack time of day for her. Griselda takes a good swallow of her drink, and she begins to speak. As is traditional with these readings, tea. "When I'm younger," she says, "I'm not done by the way some dolls are, but I take risks. It is because I take risks that I wind up in the hands of trolls. But I'm better off than the guys I travel with, for I know something of trolls. My father says to me, and my brothers, you need never meet a Mustali if you do not go underground, or Aldrayami if you stay out of their forests, or Dragon Newts if you keep clear of their cities. But there are trolls everywhere. So get to know something about them if you wish to improve your chances of survival." I figure he knows what he's speaking of, for he adventures quite some in his youth, so I pay him what I can afford to learn some dark tongue and what he knows about troll customs, for my old dad seldom does anything for nothing. So, when the party I'm with is jumped one night by trolls, I know what to do. I huddle down to dodge the sling stones as best I can, and I take out this piece of meat which I carry for just this purpose. And I throw it out and calling Dark Tongue, "Come and eat, and let us talk." This impresses the trolls enough that they spare my life, and in fact they do not lay a finger on me, except that one touches my hair and says something to the others which I fail to catch. I'm still a prisoner, with a rope round my neck, but this is better than being dead like the others. After the trolls finish going through my camp, we head across country, and if they stop at a troll village and leave a lot of stuff, some take me on. I do plenty of walking in the next few days, and it's a good thing that days are sunny and the trolls take cover during them, so that I get some rest, or I will probably croak. As it is, I'm not in very good shape when we get to wherever we are headed, but I will not let a troll carry me, for I am determined to show that we are not weak the way they like to think humans are. I can tell you that we are visiting some very, very important troll from the way that those bringing me behave, so I keep bent as they do, and when I'm brought into his presence I lie flat, as my father tells me to do, until I'm told to get up. One of those bringing me makes a speech in which he offers me as a present, and while he does so I sneak a peek at Yerubim, for this is who the important troll is. He is surely unusual even for a troll, for he has this great big left paw, and his eyes seem very old and far away. And when he smiles, I can see that his teeth are all sharp. He seems quite pleased. And one of his aides addresses me in good trade talk and tells me that I am now belonging to him and will be well treated if I behave myself. I thank him in my best dark tongue, and I can see that this goes down well with the trolls. I stay with them for weeks and get to talking dark tongue much better, and learn some more about trolls, and all the while I do not have to do any work, and I'm offered all I can eat of good human food. And of course none of it is as hot as trolls are very leery of fire. The trollkin looking after me seem eager to press food on me, and I find myself getting plump in places, so I start taking some exercise. For some reason this interests many of the trolls no little, and they encourage me to show what I can do, even to pit me against their tougher trollkin. And since, though I say it myself, I'm better than a raw hand at fighting and such even then, I do well and make quite an impression. And even Yerubim comes to watch occasionally. In fact, the trolls seem to treat me the way you will a cute puppy, or even a smart-talking slave, and I know enough to play along with this. Naturally, I'm not at all popular with the tougher trollkin. In fact, they give me plenty of the back of their necks. But the ordinary workers all seem all pleasured up at my defeating the tougher ones, because these just naturally love to push the rest around. Any troll will tell you that just about all trollkin are dumb and useless. But I'm here to say that plenty are not so dumb as they act, but they figure it best to appear that way, for trolls are apt to kill trollkin who act too smart. I get to know some trollkin quite well, and they will chat with me when they have the time, which is not often, and treat me very friendly. Well, one day I happened to comment to one of these friends that trollkin have a hard life, to be sure, and I'm glad I'm not one, and she looks at me a little strangely. For now, yes, she says. But you may prefer to be an Enlo soon, for life is better than death. Even we know that. You're saying I am to die? I say, somewhat horrified. What do I do wrong? Why, nothing, she says. It'll be dark season too, and that is when the great lord has his feast. He will eat me, I say. She rolls her eyes and looks all around and then says, almost in a whisper, that you mean they do not tell you? Why else do you suppose they feed you so well? The Lord thinks you copperheads are good, extra good to eat. But I never say I am one to tell you, or they will eat me too before my time. And off she goes in a great hurry. This gives me plenty to think about, all right, and for sure I am in a very tough spot. We are deep in troll country, so that even if I can escape from the camp, the chances of getting clear away are a zillion to one. One plan I can think of is to edge Yerubim into guaranteeing my life some way, and I do plenty of studying on that theme, and stop taking exercise and make as if I'm going off my food. Naturally, the trollkin who are looking after me are greatly perturbed. They do not try to force feed me, and by the news must get to Yerubim himself, for I am summoned to his presence. It is the first night of dark season, and all the trolls are celebrating, but it's not his special feast yet. He asks through his aide why I am not eating, and I say, I'm not feeling too good, and may be sickening for something. They all seem alarmed, and he calls his best priestess of Ziola's Umba, who as you may know is their goddess of healing and comfort, to look me over. She states that as far as she can tell, I'm in good condition. He has the best human food brought, and I make like I'm tempted to eat, and pretty soon I'm acting cheerful, and they all seem relieved, and the party takes off again. The trolls are passing around big mugs of liquids of all kinds, and they getting quite a charge from them from what I see, and on finally I asked to try one. This causes much merriment, and Picat Yerubim so far forgets himself to speak to me direct. Why, little copperhead, he says, the drinks are fine for trolls, but no human can take them. Here is my chance. So I say very clearly, in dark tongue, I bet my life I can drink 3 and live through it. This causes silence to fall, as some of them look rather uncomfortable, as if they realise that I know what will happen to me if I cannot save myself. Then the Zeola Umbar priestess says, give her the chance, and others make sounds of agreement. Picat Yerubim looks thoughtful, and finally he says to one of his aides, tell her she has a bet, but she cannot bet her life, or her freedom, or a trip out of here. Now this may seem a setback, but I'm prepared for it, and I say, I will choose my prize later if I win. This is a kind of troll contest, and the rules are that I get to choose a drink, and then someone else does, and finally Picat Yerubim does. I must drink a good mug of each, and none can be beer, which they drink, and it's just like our beer. And I can use healing or be healed if I'm knocked out, as long as I'm still alive. So, first I choose a drink which they seem to like. It's brown and thick with lumps in it, and the smell reminds me very strongly of a piss house, but I get it down. The first taste needs an effort, and nothing seems to happen. After this, there is some discussion, and I figure they're not wised up on how their drinks affect us. One of his aides gets to pick, and chooses a pretty liquid, which is dark purple with blue bubbles, and tastes as good as it looks. But when I finish it, like a flaming dagger, hits right through my vitals, and I'm knocked flat, which gets plenty of laughs. Still, my stomach is sending out regular distress signals, but I cannot afford to use up too much power and let it go. I also have to take off my pants, which are soiled, and this gets more laughs. But I do not care, as now I only have one to go. Picat Yerubim studies quite before he picks it, and the trolls seem to think he picks a lily. I have to say it's the worst I ever see, for it looks and smells like what it gets cleaned off the floor after a real eat it up and spew it out feast. I cannot help showing distaste, and the trolls howl with laughter, start tossing around, encouraging remarks like, this one will do the trick, and are you sure you do not want to stop? But I say to myself, it is now or never, and so I take a deep pull. This is not so rough as you will expect, and in 5 more swallows I finish the mug. The last 2 especially take a bit into keeping down, and when I'm done I'm still standing. They all watch intently, but nothing seems to happen, and finally to break the silence I ask for some beer to take the taste away. Then most of them laugh like crazy, and some cheer. But Picat Yerubim is not laughing, and he fixes his odd eyes on me and says, and asks what I want. I take a deep breath, for this is where I find out whether it is all worth it, and I say that I wish him to guarantee that I will keep the use of all my senses no matter what. There is dead silence, and Picat Yerubim keep those odd eyes on me and open his mouth a little, and it's all I can do to look back. Finally he grates out, I can still chop off your legs, and maybe I will, for cheating me of the rest of you. The Zeola Umbar priestess looks ready to butt in, so I quickly play my last card, and say, I don't mind losing a little bit here and there, but I hope that just this once he'll be satisfied with an appetizer. He says nothing while you can count 6, and then he lets out the biggest bellow of laughter I ever hear, and slaps his high, and all the rest join in, even the priestess and those trollkin who are present. Then he wipes his eyes and says, still talking to me direct, Copperhead, it'll be a crime to kill you off. When there are so many dummies, it will do just as well. You shall have your wish, but tell me how you learn what I intend, and I will not touch a finger of you. I swear by my father's name. At this point, Griselda pauses to refresh herself, and she grins at us, hanging on every word. And finally Lena says, well, do you do it? Griselda shakes her head. That is one thing that I am proud of. I refuse to tell. None of them understand this, not even the Trollkin, but I believe they honour me for it. Even Picat Yerubim may be impressed, for he takes very little advantage of my offer, and soon after he has me escorted back to human territory and passes the word that I am his friend. What do you mean, takes very little advantage of you? Says the guy who once has a top knot. Griselda smiles a little. It's nothing really. I'm just short a little extra padding here and there. It's all very carefully done, and that Siola Umbar priestess surely knows her stuff. He says he has no wish for fingers or toes, because there is no meat on them. So, you see, when he gives Java's gun the word that I am a tasty morsel, he knows what he's talking about. Author's note. I cannot resist including to point up the conclusion that the alternative title suggested by Greg Stafford, A Nice Piece of Ass. Okay, so that was A Tasty Morsel, story number 4 in the book, and I hope you enjoyed that, and we'll come back for the next story, which is All in the Family. Thank you for watching and listening, and I hope you enjoyed that.